Jeff Wilson's a great mate of mine, but he hasn't got a bloody clue when it comes to front row. Neither does Mills. So they shouldn't be even talking about it.
Mind-blowing stat, isn't that a stat? 78% of the last 10 minutes. They had, I think, a fair bit of that, maybe down to 14 as well. But we were really under the cosh there.
I think that Parker has got potential as the line-out winner because he's big. So I think that's handy. Vire's fantastic, isn't he? I mean, he's just getting better and better with age. He's like a good red wine.
DSPN, the Devlin Sports Podcast Network.
Post-match analysis. Springboks versus All Blacks at Eden Park. So looking forward to this as Murray Mexted, the All Black icon, legendary number 8 for our country. And he played well over 70 games consecutively and then decided to retire. He's been a commentator. He's ran IRANs. And his brain on this game is as good as anyone's. We love to have you aboard, Mex. Can I just say to kick this off, as an All Black fan, I am absolutely delighted at that result. I know we're going to analyse the game and all that kind of stuff, but just the win. And sometimes, as a fan, that's what you just want, the win, man. And the All Blacks, I think, deserve that win.
Yeah, I reckon they did too, Marty. And I wanted that win also as much as you. Because, we've lost 4 in a row to the Springboks and we're supposed to be ranked 1 in the world. Well, you can't be ranked 1 in the world if you lose the last 4 games to one team.
There you go.
So this rivalry between the All Blacks and Springboks goes back a long way. And it's by far the closest rivalry for the top first and second position in the rugby world. So this game was a huge one. We had to win this game. We absolutely had to win this game. And all that bullshit about Eden Park not having lost at Eden Park didn't mean a thing, quite frankly, to the teams. It was all about the game. This game had nothing to do with the venue. And I think that it was a dramatic game. And it was, I don't know why we use British referees, quite frankly, because, I was battling to understand some of the rulings last night when I watched that. And I just thought that the officious nature of the Northern Hemisphere referees are probably tough on Southern Hemisphere rugby because in the Southern Hemisphere, we've got the better teams, if you look at the ranking continuously, and the game seems to be more entertaining to watch. We want, to see a real 15-man game in many respects in this day and age. It's an entertainment form, isn't it? And kicking for touch and having scrums and lineouts, it's not really the deal. What we actually want is an entertaining match, a really good game of rugby. And I thought the referee did a reasonable job, but I just think he over-reffed a bit. And I'd like to see that change, but it was a hell of a game.
Hell of a game.
It was a hell of a game.
It was messy though, Mex. It was messy though, wasn't it? And the conditions dictated that a bit. And with the way that the box kick works these days and so much of that, I mean, that's obviously, we might as well start there. With so much aerial combat going on, there's a lot of drop ball, a lot of knock-ons. And so I would probably more describe it as an attritional test because of that.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying and I agree entirely. The two things that you mentioned there was the possession really in wet weather, or the mistake, should I say, in wet weather. Wet weather definitely has an effect on the game. It doesn't have an effect on the game when you're sitting in your lounge with a beer watching the game. But if you're playing in that environment and the ball's wet and it's raining like it rained during that game, It rained.
Oh yeah.
And we expect such a superb standard of rugby from test matches, especially the top 2 teams in the world. And that was influenced, I think, by the weather, but also influenced by the officious nature of the referee. I thought he should have let the game roll a little bit instead of looking for reasons to blow the whistle every now and again. But anyway, the bottom line was it was a great battle between 2 teams, and I loved every second of it. And my opinion changed throughout the game on certain things. But, I mean, Marty, I'm banging on all the time about possession.
Yes, you are.
And no one else seems to be. I don't understand all the journos. No one ever seems to mention the significance of possession. Well, if you don't have the ball, you can't have any control over the match. And invariably, you're not going to win the ball.
Invariably, you're not going to win the match. No, because you can't score any points. No, so
And I hear them all. I've been reading a few of the reports this morning. The analysis, they're going on about, who dominated the game and what areas and stuff like that. Well, you don't get a chance to implement your game plan that has been devised if you haven't got the ball. And I think that probably the last 10 minutes was an example of that, where the Springbok won 78% of the ball.
It's a mind-blowing stat,
minutes.
isn't it? Isn't that a stat? 78% of the last 10 minutes. They had, I think, a fair bit of that, maybe down to 14 as well. But we were really under the cosh there. And there are two aspects, to that for me. One, that we did defend it and we did close it out. There was Ardie's turnover, which was just amazing, wasn't it? But then we gave the ball back to them. So, did we make it a little hard on ourselves at the end, even though we did get there?
Well, I mean, tactics are a big part of this game today. They really are. But my point is that, the game plan, the tactics, are influenced by your possession. So the first thing you got to do when you're thinking about how we're going to beat the number one team in the world, we were number one according to the rankings, but how we're going to beat the Springboks, we've lost them 4 times in a row, including the World Cup final. We're at home. So psychologically, we should have an advantage of being at home.
Mm-hmm.
How are we going to beat them? Well, you've got to get 50% of the ball to beat them, I reckon. And we got 48% of
Good
the
enough.
ball. It was good enough in the end, but not good enough as far as I'm concerned. So you've got to say, how are we going to get more ball? So most of the ball these days is not scrum ball. Most of the ball these days is aerial possession, whether it's lineouts, whether it's kickoffs, whether it's tactical kicks. It's aerial possession. So you need guys that are really good under the high ball. So, and I think that that's one of the reasons why they moved Vi to lock. I thought that was a really interesting call, that. I wouldn't have done that, only because he's 10 centimetres shorter than the guy he was marking. But he seems to have upset the Springbok line-out, and the All Black coaches and selectors have picked that up in the past. He's been very good at, getting a hand to their ball, and now and again getting his own ball too. But the problem is, if you're giving away 10 centimetres invariably to the people you're marking, you can't be the principal ball winner. It's just not going to work. You're just not going to get the ball if we are throwing the ball to Vi. So there needs to be someone else getting the ball. Now, we've got Barrett, but not too many others. And I don't think we've got enough. So, in my view, there'll be a change next week.
Okay, I was going to ask that.
In fact, yeah, well...
Well, your thoughts on that?
Well, the change, I think... I'd love Razor Robertson to be listening to this, because I'm wondering who is the coach for aerial possession in that All Black team. That would be a question I'd be asking. And lineouts are a big part of aerial possession, and you've got to have 3 really good lineout forwards these days, not 2.
Okay, so
and I think that Parker has got potential as a lineout winner because he's big, so I think that's handy. Vi's fantastic, isn't he? I mean, he's just getting better and better with age. He's like a good red wine, And I was interested in listening to him after the game. And of course, Barrett's fantastic too. So I reckon those are our big boys. Those are the boys that can win the ball in the air. And I'd love to see this guy Parker all of a sudden become like a Zinzan Brook. Now, you never had to worry about the ball in the air when Zinzan Brook was playing.
No.
Because he was screaming for the ball, telling everyone to get out of the way because he's taking the ball. Now, that was a bit of a weakness that I think we saw last night in this All Black team, aerial possession. And I'm not even sure whether the rain influenced that 100%. The rain did influence it, but I think there might be a little bit of a weakness there, and that's what the Springboks are trying to...
Mind you, they weren't that flash under the high ball either. There's, a lot of it was dropped. There's so many knock-ons and so many, failed attempts to actually catch the ball. And just one quick on that, as far as the loose forward trio goes, are you happy with it? Do you think that we have found our new loose forward trio? That's with Parker at 6, Satiti at 8, Ardie at 7. Are you happy with that?
No, I don't. No, I don't. No, I think that Ardie moving back into 7 was an interesting call, and I wanted to see that, and I think they did that because they wanted to play Satiti. But Satiti was pretty anonymous in that game, really, to be frank. I think, you've got to put a lot of emphasis, as I said, on possession when you select this second test. We need more ball. We need more than 48% possession. So I'd be moving Parker to number 8, and I'll be moving Vi back to 6. So Ardie at 7, where, he's become a specialist 7 or 8. Ardie at 7, and he pulled off that turnover at the end there, which was vital. That's what 7s do. Parker at 6 because he's 1.97 metre, the same height as Vi, and get him more involved in the game. Throw him a few as well. Start sharing it round. And of course, we've still got Barrett, who's bloody good. So we have to use those 4. In effect, we've got to use those 4 jumpers. You can't play against the Springboks and get 55% of the ball unless you got four guys in the air. It's not only at line-outs, but it's kick-offs and it's aerial possession. I think even in the back line, too, you have to say who's good under the high ball and who's not good. And I thought that guy McKenzie proved a point last night. He proved a point that ball in the air, he's pretty good at.
Yeah, very brave, isn't he?
Which I was really pleased. He earned his cap last night, and I think he stood up and he said, I'm mature, I might be small, but I'm good.
Mix,
I think that's the point.
What are your thoughts on the scrum? Because there was one, especially at the end, where they just absolutely demolished our front row, and that was when we had Lomax and also Tamaiti came on. Overall, that's probably the first time all year and for a long time that our scrum has been under that much pressure, because they really, I don't know if the word dominate can be used, but they can probably come out of that game thinking that they were better at scrum time. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think from an overall perspective, what you're saying and what I can say is, yeah, that's fair. But really, I keep away from trying to be an analyst of the front row, because they're another beast, those boys. They really are. They're living in their own world. It's their world. And not many people who don't play in the front row understand the front row.
Very fair.
I think the locks may understand the front row a little bit. And maybe their mothers understand them. But nobody else does.
That's entirely fair, isn't it? That's why I get so frustrated when the referee is blowing up scrum penalties. I'm thinking, how do you know what's going on in there? And how do you actually decide that one that looked exactly the same as the last one is a scrum penalty? I'm always confused
and you see
about that.
those guys. You see those guys, our analysts on television who play wing and fullback, talking about loose forwards and front rows. Well, it's a joke, isn't it? I mean, Jeff Wilson's a great mate of mine, but he hasn't got a bloody clue when it comes to front row. Neither does Mills. So they shouldn't be even talking about it.
They've been watching their test players. Mills got 100 caps. I think they've looked at it enough to go, I know what's going on in there, haven't they?
No, Mills is like me. I'm not getting into that front row, because I like to think that there's more people that like me than just my mother, that understand me. And I think that front row is a world to be explained, and I think we've got a really good coach who's running that front row, and he'll pick up on that.
We'll ask him some questions during the week.
So comprehensively as that one there, something went wrong.
Seriously.
And we don't know what that is, but something went wrong in that scrum, and it was on our goal line too.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Cost
was
us
a
7
real
points.
serious moment.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And I'm not quite sure what it was, and I think we need to ask someone else that, Marty.
Yeah, Jason Ryan. Okay, we'll ask those questions to him. Fair enough.
But what I'm pleased about is we've actually got a front row forward specialist as a selector and the main coach. I think that is fantastic, and he'll get that right. So whatever happened, you'll see a change in the front row this week. I don't know what it is, but he will know. And that's good.
Okay.
What my criticism of aerial possession is, I'm not sure who the coach is of aerial possession.
I'm not sure that they have one, specialist one. They'll probably be adding one.
You got to have one of those, because that's where the main area possession is in scrums these days.
It is.
It's aerial possession.
But look, hang on.
In fact, if you counted the scrums,
when William Webb Ellis said enough is enough, he didn't pick the ball up and box kick it, Max, did he? He ran with it. So,
He ran with it and scored a try.
He ran with it. I mean, the whole thing about rugby is still the try-scoring movement is what we love, isn't it? I mean, that's, your rhythm and flow. That's when every player's involved. That's the sweeping movement and everything. This banging the ball up in the air is just, it gets monotonous. As a fan, I'm sitting there watching it going, again.
I've been to rugby, actually, where William Webb Ellis picked up the ball.
Same.
And I know the area he picked up the ball, and he dived over between the posts. Not to score a goal, to score a try.
Yeah, he didn't box kick it.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's just a thing. It's become so prevalent in Test match rugby now, isn't it? You're right. That's the actual real battle for first phase is almost in the air off these kicks. As much as you'll get you'll probably get 4-1 compared to scrums these days in rugby. Is that to this, right?
I've got a schoolboy mate of mine who played halfback and fullback as a kid. And he keeps on sending me where we do text messaging about rugby and stuff like that.
Most adults do.
He can't get his head around the fact that, if we move the ball, we don't score as many tries. He can't get his head around that fact. And that's what it was last night, And when you look at the stats, the more you bloody move the ball, the less tries you score. There's something wrong with that.
Yeah.
So we kicked a lot more last night, didn't we?
Yeah.
And, he's upset that we kick. He said, we've got to keep the ball. We're giving it back to them. And that's what most people are saying, watching it on TV. Why are we kicking so much? We're not, we've had the ball. We're actually giving it back to them. We're not trying to give it back to them. What we're trying to do is put pressure on them and maybe win our ball. It's a ball we're kicking predominantly 95% of it is recoverable.
Yeah, trying to.
And we're trying to contest. We're trying to contest on their territory. That's why we're kicking. And the conditions played a part in that.
Yeah, they're dictating.
We don't really want to move the ball left, right and centre if we're only getting 48% of the ball and we're getting knocked over by the best defensive rugby team in the world. Because that's something you got to think about too.
All right.
We're not playing against England or someone like that. We're playing against the Springboks.
He did say that afterwards, Scott Robertson, which I thought was a really good comment, that you aren't going to beat this team by playing perfect rugby either. It's a test match and it's a real battle, and we won that battle, which is what I'll leave you with. Overall, are you pleased with that? Because we had to rebound from Argentina, and this is what we always talk about. All Black sides, on the rebound, are always such good sides because we hate losing so much, losing twice in a row. I mean, you've been there. I mean, it's unthinkable, isn't it? So we always tend to rebound, I think great after a loss, and that was a really good rebound.
Well, I've been opinionated most of my life, Martin, for good or for worse. And, I hate to be critical, but what I've been watching and waiting to form an opinion about so I could be opinionated is, do these selectors and coaches, do they really know what they're doing? Are they the boys?
Mm-hmm.
And I have, for an opinionated man, I've reserved comment on that at all. But now I'm absolutely sure they know what they're doing.
Bingo. Great. Awesome.
I'm going to give them a big tick.
Awesome.
And I think they tried something because they thought that there's a psychological advantage over the Springboks, and they say that his stats against Savea is bloody impressive. So my point is, play the players that are going to win you the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I think they understand that. I think they were giving Satiti a game. Satiti didn't play like he needs, like he's not the first man to be named in that team next week, and that's really how he had to be played. I think they're going to think, we need another guy that can win a serial possession. And the guy at the moment seems to be this guy, Parker. We just don't know how good he is in that area. And he needs to step up, and he needs to have the opportunity. And if we have Vi and Parker in the loose forwards, and, Holland, bring Holland back in, and Barrett, obviously, then we've got real ability to contest.
DSPN.